As I mentioned earlier, Woodside drove the market today. Shares up 2.5% after its full-year net profit result of 1.4 billion Australian dollars, down just over 4% on last year thanks to delays on its Pluto gas project. Woodside's massive oil and gas projects are mostly moving in the right direction, though, with the Northwest Shelf in full throttle to deliver 62% of the full year's revenues. Pluto finally moving into production, and Browse about to generate cash from a sell-down. And Chief Executive Peter Coleman released a major new growth strategy today. I spoke to him earlier from Perth. Peter Coleman, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you very much.
Now, look, the market seemed to like the result. It was extra costs for Pluto delays seemed to be less important than your confirmation of full guidance for the year.
Well, Tiki, as you know, the underlying results were very strong. So, we focused on that. We focused very much on delivering the commitments that we've made. And so, we're working with the market to make sure they understand where we come from. And equally, within Woodside, we're making sure that the commitments we make out there in the marketplace, not to only our shareholders, but to the broader community, that they're commitments that we meet.
The Brent oil price, it very much drives the LNG price, as I understand it. What sort of an impact has that had on your results, and how do you see it going forward?
Well, it has a very positive impact on our result, particularly Brent oil price. It's linked through the contracts that we have, particularly to our Japanese customers on the LNG side, but also our Australian oil business is very strong, and particularly the oil that we produce out of our Infield and Vincent fields has a great demand in the market in Asia at the moment.
Let's go to some of your projects. The Northwest Shelf obviously going very well, but the step change that we are about to see, as people are calling it, really is in Pluto. You've got your offshore gas into the plant for the first time over the last weekend. What risks remain that might threaten operations going forward now?
Well, as you said, the Northwest Shelf really is an excellent foundation business for us, and it continues to do very, very well. As we look at it today, we announced this morning that, of course, the plant has now been handed over to operations from the construction phase. That's a very important step because now it means it's in hands of operations, and they can now finish the commissioning. So, the going forward risks for us are really about reliability, ensuring that we get the plant up safely and that we keep it online and maintain reliability.
Let's move to Browse and your plans to sell down some of Woodside's holding. Reports today that PetroChina has made a bid for 15%. And other reports earlier this year that you could potentially sell down to just over a 17% holding, maybe flog $1 billion worth. Is that correct?
Well, the real message around Browse, and we've said this repeatedly, is Browse really is an asset that has value, and it's a value to Woodside that continues to grow. As we've looked at equity, we've spoken to the market and said we will manage our debt as we go forward. We know that going forward at the current equity levels on Browse will limit our ability into the future to do other things and pursue other opportunities. So we're simply looking at what's the right equity level for us going forward as we maintain operatorship on Browse. Now, with respect to who might be interested out there in the marketplace, what I can say is we do have strong interest in Browse, and that's really a testament to the quality of the resource.
You've got some quite complicated preemptive rights from the other stakeholders I know. And looking at Shell, who still has that 24% holding in Woodside, I'm just wondering if there could be some arrangement there that could be one of your options, where they'd be looking at perhaps taking assets and reducing their shareholding in exchange.
Well, the preemptive rights, of course, are a commercially in confidence contract that we have amongst the Browse partners. Of course, each of the partners have got to take their own positions on what their holding needs to be in Browse as we move further on. What I can say, though, our relationship with Shell is a very strong one, and it's one that we look forward in working with Shell in the future on.
Well, Peter, you are 9 months into the job now. You've got a lot of cash about to come in from Pluto. You're selling down presumably something in Browse with more cash. And you've announced today, a very deliberate new strategic plan. Can you give us a little bit on that?
Yes, Woodside's very well positioned over the next 12 to 18 months to make some very significant strategic decisions as to where we go in the future. We've got to decide as a leadership team at Woodside what's the best way to maximise the value for shareholders at Woodside. One of those ways, of course, is to look at what we do with our balance sheet, but alternatively, of course, we're an oil and gas company, we're an energy company, we need to look for growth opportunities. And to do that, we need to cast a very broad net to make sure that we're looking at the best opportunities we can possibly find.
You've beefed up your corporate team as part of this. I assume you've now got lots of fellas and chapesses looking right around the world and scouring for opportunities, including coal seam gas and shale, I understand.
Well, we've basically said there's really nothing off the table for us. What we have said, though, as we look at these opportunities, they need to be things that are complementary to the existing skills and competencies that Woodside has. We're not simply an investor, we're an oil and gas company, we're an explorer, developer, producer and marketer, and so we need to look where we can add value. So any opportunity we look at, we need to really look and say uniquely, how can Woodside add value to that opportunity, and does that opportunity really maximise the return that we're going to get to our shareholders? So yes, we do have quite a well-positioned team now. I'm quite confident that the work that we're doing will bear fruit. What I can't predict, obviously, is when that will occur.
Pretty exciting time to work at Woodside, I think. Peter Coleman, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Dickie. Thank you very much.